Hi, I'm James Buckler of Engage Pixel, and in today's little vlog I'm going to be adding a little kind of radar warning system for the AI that will summon enemies to its position when it spots the player. So I'll show you a little bit of how the game currently plays without it before I go and put it in. So this mission, there are 3 doors that you have to seal because you need to essentially stop the bad guys getting in. And I've just noticed that radar is wrong. Why is that radar wrong? People are in the wrong positions. Okay, so this little guy here who's just decided to go moving somewhere else, he's got a camera on him, he's a watcher. And this little guy with the radar dish is a scout, he's got radar. And then that's a cutter with a big, like, cutting blade. Now what you'll see if I fly over and this guy gets line of sight, he goes, "I found the player," and then all the AI suddenly rushes over. I get absolutely pain. Let's go back to space and well, that was messy. Now there are certain points in levels where you can kind of, because of how the AI just sort of wanders around, without these watchers and scouts to spot you, so if you think quick, you can take them out before they actually summon everyone. Like that. There we go. Oh no, that one spotted me. Okay. So at the moment, flying along, killing all these dudes. Well, what I want to do is have like a box there that's a radar that says, "Hey, he's over here, come and get him." Because in some missions you don't get as swamped as you get in this mission, which actually doesn't need a radar, but oh, I've died again. It will be part of the balancing, because potentially this level may have like way too many bad guys. I think like the variety is good, but it may be that there are just too many spawners, or rather too many different types of bad guy. So maybe better to reduce the actual number of bad guys at once, so you don't get swarmed quite the same way as something swarmed at once. But they're a lot more responsive to radars, summoning them, as it were. Ah, damn it. So yeah, that's the plan. So let's get on with it. Okay, here is the building. It's all a bit zoomed in. Let's show you it at 1:1. That's what it'll look like. That's it in standard state, and that's it in, I've just shot it up a lot state. You can do buildings with kind of lots of damage states, sort of a gradual damage state, but I've gone with just 2 states for simplicity's sake, because they're not going to take a lot of hits to damage them, and you only really need, for what I'm doing, I only really need 2 images. So let's import that into, what folder do I want to put this in? New AI, yeah, go on there. Call this SBR AI radar system. I have to figure out where I actually, did I put it there? No, that's the old rubbish one. Where did I put I don't know where I saved the file. Let's take a look at where it is in Photoshop. It's in AI New. Okay, Just looked at AI new. Radar spotter. Blind. Okay, so add that in. Now I'm going to want to set the sprite group to minor ground, but I also need to set the origin. Now I'm going to move it to the center, but then I'm going to move the Y to the bottom, so it's at the center and the bottom of it. Okay. Now somewhere around here I've already loaded in a radar dish. Again, where did I put it? Nope, that's the wrong one. No, is that it? Is that it there? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's change that to where am I going to want to put you? Where am I going to want to put you? Let's put you in sprite player, because I'm going to want to separate you from, or sprite's going to need to be used by both the Ceres and Mars stuff, so I want it to be in 2 places, so boom, I'll put it there. Okay, so I'm going to need to create an object. Put it in here. Put it in here. Create object. Obj. Typing is rubbish this morning. Obj. AI. Minor radar system. Go. That. Going to create. First thing I'm going to do is change the image speed. Type properly. Come on. To 0, so that it just sits on. Do you know what I'm going to do? Already have down here destructible buildings, and it makes a lot more sense to take this and parent it. That way I get all the stuff that this destructible object can already do, and I add it to this, and then yeah, so what does this do? And what do we need to override? So that's already done in the... Okay. Gonna want to give it more health. Now I usually figure health in terms of how many hits it can take. So let's load Excel and get the damage table. See what that looks like. Okay, so this is the damage table. You see that at the moment with the basic 40mm machine gun, a pod will take 2 hits, watch takes 2 hits, scout and shield will take 5. That's for the health of 10. Two hits from a pulse laser. Yeah, let's go with health of 10. Let's see how that plays. What else do I need to inherit? Everything else should be all fine and useful. So then I need to add to figure out how to handle displaying the radar itself, because the little spinny radar is when you separate stripe drawn above it. Now I can either handle that as an object that just gets created and left to its own devices and deleted, or this object draws it. Probably cleaner if this object draws it. Does it have an alive state? Yes, alive. So I better set up the physics. And this looks like a mess. What's going on there? There we go. Density of 0 should be all that needs. So in the draw event, what I'm going to do is do I need to just inherit draw shadow, draw hit, draw self? Yep. So I'll start with just inherit. Then I'll draw the radar. So if alive, if it's alive, it's going to draw a spinning radar dish. Otherwise, draw a dead dish. Although I did not load in the sprite for the dead dish, did I? That was not useful. Not entirely sure where I hid the sprite for the. Let's see if we can find it. So. There it is. Better check the spinny majig sprite actually. Where did I? Okay, that one. Yep, so its origin is at the bottom there. It's fine. This thing's origin will also be at the bottom like that. So we will call this SBR radar dead, and that's all we need to do there. So going to go back to setup and determine the radar's position. So we have radar X equals X. A bit redundant, but never mind. Radar Y equals Y minus sprite height. Okay, so what's that chucking out an error? What is that chucking out an error? Oh, because you're not a function, dumbass. Okay, so this means I can go here, let's draw the dead one first, and go draw sprite, SBR radar dead, 0 subimage, it's only got one subimage, so subimage 0, and then radar X, radar Y. Okay, so once you've shot the radar, it'll now draw a dead radar dish that's all broken and busted above it instead of drawing a spinny one. Now, the reason why it's useful to have radar X instead of just putting X there, even though radar X is the same as X, is if I create a new version of this radar system, I can then parent it and in the setup specify a different X and Y without having to go in and overwrite and rewrite this piece of code here. This will then, wherever the radar is, it's got, draw it, and I just have to reposition the radar in the setup. Now, the next thing we need to do is figure out the radar sprite, subsprite for drawing. See, if I just go, if I just copy that line there, except this time with the SPR radar dish scan sprite, what I need is to put a variable in here which changes to indicate the sprite sub image. Now normally you use the image index variable, which is the built-in one which gets incremented for you without having to worry about it and points to the correct sprite. But because I'm using a separate sprite, I need to do it manually. So I'm using the radar count variable. And I need to increase it each time I've used it. But as it currently sits, that's not going to work. See, radar dish scan has about 20 frames, so for the first 20 steps this is going to be fine. Then this is going to hit 21 and this will break. So in fact I don't need radar count there. What I need to do is create a little variable, we'll call it RC, which will be radar count, but it will be twiddled with by, I think, mod, and then I need to know how many frames this has, which is 32 sub images. So I would do that. Now I'll show you in Excel what this does quick. In a let's just zoom over here out the way. So 0. Hang on. No, okay, right. So 32, 0, 1, 2, 3. Drag that all the way down to here. Equals mod, yep, equals mod, that, comma, that. If I drag, I've done that wrong, yeah, that needs to have a $1 in it. So this will be the same basic equation that I've just put into the game. If I drag it down here, what we should see, well, doesn't do anything there, but if I do, let's say 12, boom, there you go. So what we're now getting is a number, this is the number that's being incremented, so this is a radar count, which is being incremented each step. And by getting the modulus, or modulo, whatever it's called, or mod as it generally is, of this number here, which is the number of frames in the sprite, and by doing radar count modulo that, what we get is every 12 steps a number that resets to 0. Now if I Can't really show you any further down that. The camera won't pan down that far, but yeah, I mean, I can change this number to anything I like, and you can see it will just go through its max and go back to 0. So if we go back to, yeah, we see here is radar count mod, the number of frames in the sub image, which means RC will always be somewhere between 0 and 31. Which is exactly the right thing to be put in here. So that should now mean that if I dump this building down somewhere, in fact, let's try this, test this out. So the level I was just playing was that one? Yeah. Okay, so objects, new AI. Wait a minute. Let's try that again. I think I have to close both of those so it registers that they exist in here. No. Oh wait, it's no. Hang about. What's that? Never mind, let's ignore it. Where the bloody hell did I just create that object? Okay, close all the sprites. It's in minors. It's the problem I have with so many damn what's names. So many folders. Okay, so now if I run this, what I should find is, okay, let's just run it and check the visuals work. It's always useful to make sure the visuals work before you worry about anything else. Okie dokie. So if I go back to this level, I believe it was, I should see. There you go. You can see here it's nicely spinning around, and otherwise just sort of sitting there. So now if I fly over, shoot it, bang. Now it's all broken and smoke puffing out, because the broken smoke puffing out part of it is it gets from the destructible building that it was inherited by. You can see this one below has been shot and it's puffing out little bits of smoke, which are actually the same little puffs of smoke you see coming out of the player's ship when it boosts. Yeah, now there's two bits of features that I need to add to this little thing. I need to give it a health bar like you see the AI has here, to indicate that it's both what its health is and also that it's something you need to destroy. It'll be a good sort of way of saying that, hey look, you should shoot this. But I also need to add the behaviour you see from the, see, it's a watcher over here, on this you see the exclamation marks above their heads that indicate their spot, and then the yellow one and the orange and the purple question mark. I need to add that behaviour so that they actually summon the AI. So killing that, and going back to, and let me see what to tackle first. Let's get the AI signalling behaviour in. Now I'm going to basically just nab that from where I already have it in the AI. Now the AI will, in its state check, right here, it will check its distance to the player. If the distance is less than its engage range, then it sets its players in range flag to true and does a loss check, which a loss check is a separate script that I have which basically does a bunch of blockout stuff. So make that nice and big. So it does create a variable, do a collision line from yourself to the player, checking for blockouts, create a boolean which is false, and then if blockout is not equal to no one, that means that that collision line has returned an object that it's collided against, put it into blockout. So blockout isn't no one, which means therefore it must be someone. If it's someone, it's hit someone, therefore this is true. We do that for blockouts, buildings, and the capital ship blockout. At the end, I make haslock false, which is just creating a new variable. And then if all of these were true, or if any of these were true, all of these, any of these, if all of these are true, that means none of these returned any collision, which means you has a clear line of sight, so it returns that it has a clear line of sight. Nice and simple, but that's just a little line of sight check function that then just goes boom and puts whether or not it has line of sight into that variable. So essentially I want that stuff in here. Donk. So the same line of sight check that the players does is now in here. I need to do a couple of additional setup things. I need to, whatever the player engage range currently being used is, and if I just do a find, see that it's pretty much 500 across the. What is this object now? I already started doing this and completely forgot. I already have this minor object, just not in a working, functioning, and I completely forgot. Look, it's got the lost check stuff and everything. The hell? I've had a complete brain fade. I've created this feature already and completely forgotten that I created this feature. Wow. That's... Yep. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to carry on because... Yeah. So in here... I'm going to make it 400 just because I don't want it to be as active as the AI is. I also need all of these to be created in advance just in case they break anything by not existing before they're called. Go. So what else do I need? Basically all of that stuff. So what I want to do is just grab all of this, pop it in here. Now I'm also gonna, at the top here, gonna add a if alive and not paused, because I don't want this to do it all the time. Just want it to do it when the game isn't paused and when this thing hasn't been blown up by the player. So, what do I need to remove? Okay, I don't need that, but I need the had loss. Okay, that's a little override. That does it if the player's like right next to you. It doesn't bother going, wait, is the player there? Or just immediately goes, yep, found the player. So if you just bump into it, it'll immediately signal everyone. I better create some of those variables, or initialize some of those variables as well. So that guy probably needs to exist, but be false to begin with. That's not how you spell false. There we go. Probably need loss count to equal 0. What's this doing? So if I'm a signaler, which is if the AI is a watcher or a scout, it's going to play the line of sight sound. Yeah. Right, that's that sound it makes when it finds you. That woo 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 kind of noise that it does. So I want to do that regardless whether it's a signal or not, because that's not going to have the control variable of it is signaler. So this bit finds the nearest position to the player, which for the AI is as simple as doing I don't want it to do that. What I want this to do is this will have a radar area which will be the instance nearest itself. So if I just go back to find that level and to show you what this is doing. So these yellow circles are AI defend areas, and the radar needs to find the nearest, needs to basically tell the AI which one to go to. Now currently the AI, when it signals each other, it signals it to go to the one nearest the player. So if the AI is if the AI is here and sees player here, it will signal the rest of the AI to come to this AI defend area. Now for this radar, I could have it doing that. So if it's sat here and sees the player here, it signals them to come to this defend area. But I'd rather have the radar simply say come to me, not go to the player. So if the radar's here, let's put the radar here. So if the radar's here and the player's here, I want the AI to go to here and defend here. This also means that if the player figures out this is how it behaves, the player can be like, okay, if I just pop here, cause this to trigger, then I can fly over here, and all the AI will come here, and I can go off somewhere else. essentially it gives you sort of a toy with the AI like that potential. So what I'm going to do is have radar area equals instance nearest, which will hopefully, as long as I place them intelligently in a level, always pick up the nearest defend area and not pick up one through, for instance, collision and tell you to go to the AI to go to a completely wrong place. Yeah. Now I no longer need that, because I don't need to find an area, as I've just set up at the start. It's not a chaser, doesn't need to know that. Right, that's a bunch of pathfinding. That tells the AI to go somewhere, and this isn't going to be moving, so it doesn't do that. What it is going to do is tell everyone else where the player is. So remove the AMA signal if signal sent, if not signal sent. We'll make that variable quick. If not signal sent, then we start doing this, which is basically with every AI mover that which is the base object for the parenting hierarchy of the AI. Anything that doesn't have line of sight to the player gets sent to there. It gets sent to whatever other, which is the thing calling the with. It gets sent to its radar area, and all the pathfinding gets set, and it gets told to sprint and move quickly. Blah 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 blah. This all gets triggered, then signal gets sent. What does that do? Probably need to initialize it. Let's find out what that is. Yeah, that's just that variable for 6. Okay, that's fine. What's this actually doing? This is basically counting how many steps until it does something, which I can't see it anywhere else, so I'm not entirely too sure what that actually does at the moment. Let's do something. So yeah, I need these variables as well. Okay, so room speed times 4 will be 4 seconds, because room speed is the number of frames in a second. And we'll need to initialize that as well. So I'm going to remove that because I don't use it. Not sure what that is, but I think I'm going to need to add it in. Room speed times 3. Okay, so what this does is when you've lost line of sight, it will cool down and then eventually turn off all its, because if you briefly break line of sight, I have a cooldown before it turns off the I know you're where you are thing. Otherwise you just slightly break line of sight, get it back, slightly break line of sight, get it back, and it will never trigger the line of sight signal to the other AI. So have a cooldown to stop you from doing that. You have to break line of sight for a couple of seconds before it will actually stop counting. or reset it, or basically pause the count, because it'll pop into here, and before it actually, because it loses line of sight, it pops into here, and before it then does all that, it counts down and pauses, and so that just in case it comes back within a second and goes back to being like, yeah, you've got line of sight, I'll start doing my lost count stuff again. So that all should probably work. The next question is drawing the no, that's the. I used to have a lot more stuff on the AI indicating what it was doing beyond just the question mark of it has it seen you or not. So if it was guarding, which is just sitting on a defend area, it would put shield up to indicate it was guarding. Stuff like that, but I found it was just way too many icons flashing around above the AI's head, and they would conflict with each other, and it just looked terrible. This, I think, is what I need. Yeah. So I'm gonna copy that into the drawer. That needs to be alive instead of is alive, because I use different variables in different things because I'm a Wally. That needs to be false. Or that doesn't need to be initialized. Actually, it's initializing there. It's fine. So draw loss warning if had loss. Draw question mark. Yeah, that'll draw it roughly in the right place. No, it won't. That'll draw. Okay, that's gonna. What I need is to draw it. So loss x, or loss sprite x equals radar x. Again, I'm in this instance, that's just going to be whatever the x is, so I could just put x, which is what it currently is in here, but because I might use a different sprite in a different instance and child it, then I'll want to be able to change the radar x later, and then again whatever sprite x is, it will be that. So for the radar y, or for the loss sprite y, I need radar y minus the height of, wait, not the height of, it's just 4, it's just 4, how's that an equals, minus 4, which should correctly then position it above wherever the radar is. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. I need to know the sprite height of radar. So so the sprite height of this is 20. So this in fact needs to be 24. However, I should really soft code this, which means I think sprite get height. Yeah, what I need to do is do sprite get height, and then whatever bloody hell that sprite was called. What's that sprite called? What's that sprite? Sprite get height that minus 4. This way, if I ever change the use a different. No, wait, that's not soft card enough. Okay, what I need to do is. No. Damn it. Right. Essentially, if I use a different radar dish, which I might do later, I've got different ideas for different looking style one for like Mars and stuff. I need to be able to move this without changing the code. So what I need to do is have radar sprite equal this one, and radar dead sprite equal the other one, which is that one. And I then need to put these in here. This way, when I later parent, if I make a child of this object later that uses a different sprite for the radar, like a square one or an oval one kind of thing, now I won't need to go back and change all this stuff. The only thing I will need is to reset this. Or rather, set these variables in the room start event, because the create event gets called first. So the create event will be called and the child's create event will be called, then the room start event gets called. So if I left this in here, then it will get set here, but then for the child it would have its sprite set afterwards, and because this radar sprite stuff will be set differently afterwards in the child, so this won't get set properly. So this needs to be set in the room event, the room start event, so everything happens in the right order. Because at this point, radar sprite will now be the correct sprite depending on whether it's this instance or any potential child instance I create later. Yeah, I think that explanation kind of made some kind of sense somewhere. What am I doing here? So I no longer you open. So I'm trying to draw this stuff, and what I need now is okay. Variables. So the one downside of GameMaker compared to a lot of other like development environments is when you create a variable in like Dev Studio or something, if you start typing it in, it will auto-complete the variable. You don't need to remember what the variable's called every time. Spend days retyping it. So copy you there, you to there. That's the correct position for the question mark to be placed. Likewise, the lost warning sprite and the lost gotcha dooley sprite. Now that was some old stuff that's going to get commented out. So where are we with what this is actually doing? So can't remember why I did that. It says in the comment, remove if re-enabling state display. You know what? That isn't required for this particular thing. That's the stuff in the AI where it had different sprites depending on different whatever its state was, so we don't need that. So if it had loss or and doesn't have line of sight anymore, so he's just had line of sight and doesn't currently have line of sight, draw a question mark. Ding, nice and easy. If signaler can be removed because it's not a signaler. So if he's found the player, then it's just going to draw the loss warning sprite, which is this little red one. No, it's that one, the yellow one. Otherwise, he hasn't found the player yet, but he's got line of sight, which means it's the warning one, which is this red one. So it's got line of sight to player, so now it just fiddles around with this line of sight alphaing thing, which is both a it's a blinky fadey. This just sets the alpha that's going to be drawn at here, which is the alpha goes between 0 and 1 and back and forth. So if loss alpha is true, then it reduces the alpha by the blink rate, which we'll need to actually get those settings from an object that already has them. Okay. No, wait a minute. The bloody... Okay, well, all for a start. Is that set up? Yeah, it's set up. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Just grab all of these bits and bobs that I've... Okay, that stuff. Yeah, that's the variables I need to set it up properly. It's all a bit too far down. Let's just drag that up so you can see it. So, if this is true, alpha gets reduced by blink rate until it's 0, and once it's 0, alpha becomes false. So once it comes back in here, it starts to increase it by blink rate until alpha becomes 1. Then it makes alpha true, so it comes back in here and starts decreasing loss alpha by blink rate. So this will just fade in and out and display the red thing. So that should mean I now have, if I run the game, it should now signal the AI to come and get me, and it should have a blinking warning icon above it. Okay, so there's the little radar guy, and it's crashed. Whoops, because I forgot a variable. See if I can just show you that. So, fatal error in action number 1 of step event, which is this bit here, where it's trying to play loss sound, just because I did not set up the audio for that object, because I'm a plum. So if I go to here and just copy this bit of script here, let's check. Structural parent doesn't have audio. No, it doesn't have audio. So I will need to add that. Bonk. So now it has audio. And the bit it couldn't play was called loss sound. Bink. Right. Okay, doesn't make a lick of sense. Right. Okay. Okay. No. Yes. Wait. Yep. Click on the wrong thing there. Okay, so I think all I need to do is just create that variable. That's all that the problem was. Because in here, yeah, it was trying to turn off a sound that wasn't playing. And that's the bit that, yeah, these are the sounds themselves. This is just a variable that holds this sound. So I just needed to create it because it's being checked here and it didn't exist. So, okay. This time, hopefully it won't go and crash on me. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So, see it sitting there, spinning around. Hopefully when I fly over to it, it will start doing something. Okay, it's not doing anything. Okay. What the bloody hell is going on there? Right, what I'm going to do is step into the code. Just pause the game quick. Right, so here's that little minor radar thing I've created. And we'll put the breakpoint in there, the point when it dischecks. And resume. No. Of course, it's dead because I shot it, so I'm going to have to restart the level because I'm a numpty. Okay. That should fail immediately. It did. Because it's immediately trying to make a distance check to the player. Am I in range? No, I'm not. Okay, let's move the breakpoint to when he's in range. And it should be about here. So, lost check to player. Dunk. That's clear. That line of sight is... Oh, you numpty. Numpty. Numpty dumpty dumpty doo. So the reason why it's not getting it's not getting line of sight to the player is because this lost check has failed. The reason why this lost check has failed is because it's colliding with something that's got obj building parent. Do you want to take a guess at what is an obj building parent? Well, the parent of this is obj destructible. The parent of obj destructible is obj building parent, which means that it's currently not oh, you couldn't see any of that, could you? Because I didn't click on the right damn thing. Okay, so let's go through that again. Where's the okay, so it's not getting a line of sight because it's getting into the line of sight check and failing every time because it gets to this part of the let's just run it again and fail it again. Boom. Okay, so we are stepping into, so players in range, doing the line of sight check, getting here. The first thing it's doing is then creating a variable, which we will see appear here, which is loss block out -4, means it's no one because it's checked that collision line and nothing came up, so there is no block out in the way. So has block out is going to be true. This one is returning a building. So has building loss is going to be false. It doesn't have line of sight because of a building. The building object is of course 109330, which if I step through here and return to here, it's interesting. I was expecting that to be the same instance number that it was failing the line of sight check to, because the reason it's failing the line of sight check should be because the radar is XY is at the base of it, and it's trying to do a line of sight check through itself, which of course wouldn't work, but it's not doing that because this variable being returned here, this 109330, is not the same object as the radar system. It's a different object, which means it's probably a line of sight check failing because of the building it's on top of. Maybe it's the, see what 109330 is. Okay, 109330. Think. Now I'm hoping this is an object destructible building, and yeah, looking at those variables, that's what it is. Yeah, it is. So because the line of sight check is being done from XY, 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 it's colliding with the building that's underneath it. Okay. There are a number of possible solutions off the top of my head. I can move the origin of this building, so that instead of being at the bottom, it's at the top somewhere. I mean, certainly it makes more sense to do that. I could also use radar X and radar Y as the point to do the line of sight check from, which again would make more sense. Yeah. Unfortunately, I already created a version of this line of sight check script where I actually specify the XY variables, although it's not complete. It's not has. Just drag that. Okay, yeah, if I just copied that and replaced that. Okay, so now this script should, if I go into here to I did sight check and change it to that, and then use radar X and radar Y, now it'll do a line of sight check from a point above it, which will well, make a lot more sense generally, but hopefully that'll now work. Let's see what happens. So, try again. Oh, you're kidding me. So it's crashed. But at least it was actually getting line of sight this time. And it's because the variable loss absolute doesn't exist. Which is because when I copied and pasted all this stuff out of the AI and copied all the variables, I forgot to copy this one. So I will spaff that in. And try again. Okey. So, this time, hopefully, finally, it'll actually work. Yeah, look at that. There is warning, warning, warning. Found you, and now it should summon all the AI to my position. Here they come. Okay, so that's all working great. Kill it. Now I need to give it a health bar, which again is fairly easy because I've already done that for a number of other things. Which thing shall I grab a health bar from? Let's go in here to my power. This is a power generator object which is connected to things, and you either give it power or blow it up to take power away to then open things and close things and so forth. It was actually one of the earliest objects I created, so it's about 2.5 years ago I drew that sprite, and I've been one of the few original bits of stuff that I did from the what do you call it, first playable that's still around. Pretty much everything else is gone except this little guy. So drawing a health bar. Wait a minute, does this actually have a health bar? Does it actually have a... I never actually gave this thing its health bar. That's still on the to-do list. Damn it. Okay, let's make a note of that on my things to do. There we go. Okay, so where do I have a health bar that I can use? I have one on the turrets. So this little bad boy, which shoots plasma at you, will draw a health bar. So in the draw we then paste in the health bar, which okay, so now the state dependent stuff here is because the health bar is only drawn for the turret when the turret's actually open, so I'll pop that off. Again, I only want, in the case of this, I only want to draw a health bar when it's alive. Now the health bar, small and simple, all it does is it draws a red rectangle based on these size and position variables. It then draws a different size green rectangle based on the amount of health left. Nice and simple. So yeah, the H and X, Y are based on the top left position, and then width and height are then added to that, and that draws your rectangle. The modifying variable here is for width, which is how much health by how many increments it is, and the increments are determined at the start by the how much health you have, and it's divided by the width of the bar, which will be set up here. So if I copy that into setup, yep, that all looks good. I don't need to do, see, this is a position changing thing because turrets can be rotated, and I don't need that or that. So yeah, that's fine. For the X being HX starting as X, then being modified by half, that will put it in the middle beneath it. So HY needs to be, because Y is at the bottom of the sprite, I just need to create a gap of say 3 pixels beneath it to then start drawing the bar. And the other thing I need to do is set health max. So you know what, this stuff probably needs to be set in, yeah, I can use the variable myHealth, which is the variable for this object's health, but actually this stuff needs to be set in room start, because again, if I make a child of this object and I give it a different amount of health, then these settings will need to be different. However, I do need, no, I think that'll work, but then normally when I think it'll work, it goes on the brakes. So that should now give it a health bar. Should. Let's run it and find out. Okay. So hopefully this time we will now see, yep, there's a green bar below it. Right. Already I can see the bar is in the wrong place. Because I did think to check and then didn't check because I assumed it was, yeah, so it's minus bar height. So what I actually needed to do here was, that's the wrong thing, that needs to be bar height plus 3. Draw it in the right place. So I shoot this, and you see it goes down and then I disappears. Okay, well that's a new feature added to the game. hope you enjoyed this little stream. I'm going to be back on later after I've had some lunch. And I'm going to make the ship strafe, because at the moment you can't really dodge very well, and I think it would be handy if I could make the ship kind of go sideways. So yeah, I'm going to add a strafing controls, which should be relatively trivial. Yeah, relatively trivial. So hope you enjoyed